Good evening, Crimson Tide Nation, and welcome to the 33rd edition of Alabama Primetime Live from yours truly, Jatson Johnson, and my good buddy, Brody Smoot from Crimson Coverage, as we'll be going over our take on the latest news and notes on the Alabama Crimson Tide tonight, all right here on Alabama Voice of College Football. And let me tell you something, you're going to be in for a wild ride. How you doing tonight, man?
Man, I'm doing great. Especially after Alabama was able to come away with that win on Saturday. It's always good to knock off Tennessee. Last time I checked, it was 22 years since they pulled off the win in Bryant Denny Stadium. So, that's a huge one. But like Kane Wommack was saying, you got a team over there in South Carolina that's been struggling, and they're looking for a win. So it's going to be a battle. It's always tough to play in South Carolina. There in Columbia. But I'm looking forward to it, and I think this team will be prepared. And I don't envision it being a let up game.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna it'll be interesting to see what happens for sure. And we got Drone Chaser Z L1 giving out a roll tide and a roll tide to you too, Drone Chaser
Roll Tide,
Z.
man.
Here we go. And before we get this show rocking and rolling, we got some stuff we gotta get for Halloween, some stuff for Thanksgiving, Christmas. It's all right here on Alabama with the Voice of College Football. Here we go. Got the hats, the t-shirts, the sweatshirt, the heavyweight t-shirt, that polo shirt. I gotta tell you, that long hair and that polo shirt is not gonna keep you warm, especially with that cold weather coming.
Mm-mm.
Although, to his point, I think we're weathering Bama, obviously. And there's the game day mug, the tumbler cup, and the can cooler. We've got it all. And if you're looking for more merch options, send an email to TV at gmail.com or voicecollegefootball at gmail.com. Like, say you want to see the dog bowl, like bring that back. We'll make sure that can happen. We'll make sure that happens for sure. Alrighty, well, let's get things started off with the rankings. We're ranked fourth everywhere, basically. We're ranked fourth in the AP. We're ranked fourth in the coaches poll. And we're in the top 25 that actually makes sense from Mark Rogers himself. Ranked number 4. And we knew that was coming after Miami losing and a few other things that happened, of course. But what did you think, Brody, when you saw that?
I mean, in terms of how Alabama's played, having won 4 games in a row against ranked opponents, top 20 opponents at that, I think Alabama's well deserving of being right there at number 4. I think, in all honesty, that Alabama's the second best team in the country, if not first. I'm giving Ohio State the benefit of the doubt, considering they haven't lost yet, but I think it's a good spot to be in. Still got room to improve. In the past, when you put us at 1 or 2, like Coach Saban always says, it's rat poison. I kind of like sitting at number 4. Obviously, you have a target on your back, but I think that this team has proven, the past few weeks that they're not the same team that they were in week 1. The team that we're seeing is playing like a top 4 caliber football team, one of the best teams in the nation. So, I definitely feel like it's a good spot to be. I feel like the polls got it right on the latest ranking that they gave Alabama. I would say it's pretty fair.
Oh yeah, I mean it's like it's still kind of funny seeing Texas A&M like us being below them by a little bit, and
Yeah,
it's still weird not playing Ole Miss, but it's
that's all. That's going to take some getting used to, you know, the rescheduling and stuff, and especially LSU next year too, man. That's a weird one.
oh my god, that's gonna well we are gonna play LSU in 2026, but we won't play them in
Yeah,
2027.
true. I see this new format is just like it's weird. It's weird to keep up. It's like 25 and 26 were home and home virtually, and 26 is one, and then 27 is completely different for the most part. It's outside of your permanent opponent. So I don't know, man, but like you said, Texas A&M, they've had a really good season thus far. Obviously, I don't think that they've played the schedule that Alabama has. I don't think anybody in the country has. So for Alabama to go undefeated, here in the past 4 weeks against teams, obviously Georgia's right there at 5. You got Missouri, who's a top 25 caliber team, Vanderbilt as well. And then obviously Tennessee right there at 17. So not many teams, like I said, no teams can really say that they've done that. But I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that Texas A&M has taken care of business and won every game. In my opinion, I do think that Alabama's better. Texas A&M just had, a more fortunate, more, uh, I guess, suitable schedule for them because they haven't had to play Georgia yet. They haven't had to play Vandy or Missouri or Tennessee. So that's the way that I look at it. I think that Alabama's a better team, but Texas A&M's just in a spot where they're undefeated. I mean, that's the way that I look at it.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, like that, the Vandy win keeps getting better as the season goes on. The Georgia win keeps getting better as the season goes on. And, Tennessee, I think they're going to go down a couple more times, but probably, I feel like it's going to be more than a couple times. I don't know why, but I feel like Tennessee's going to go down to Oklahoma, Vanderbilt, and they always go down in Gainesville to Florida. That
Yeah.
it's like the piano. It's like Wile E. Coyote falling off the cliff, looking at that goodbye face as he's about to fall down. That's how Tennessee is at Gainesville. But yeah, you can't ever expect Tennessee to get these right there. But like Missouri Vanderbilt, college game day in town in Nashville for the first time since October 4th, 2008, where game day went to Vanderbilt, Auburn, and Brett Musburger and Kirk Herbstreit were on the call on ESPN.
hmm
Oh,
the thing with Vandy is, you know, a lot of people, they really saw the true Vandy, I feel like last week. I know that they competed with Alabama and they've had some good wins at Virginia Tech. They smoke pulled South Carolina. But, last week, I know that LSU was struggling, obviously. Garrett Nussmeier hasn't been playing like he was last year and how people anticipated. But the way that Vanderbilt's offense operates is they got a high potent offense. They got a quarterback that doesn't make bad decisions, doesn't make careless mistakes, doesn't turn the football over. He can run, he can throw. They got several playmakers around him. I mean, Alabama fans saw that when we played them. I was there. It was halftime, and I was thinking, "Uh-oh, we're in for a dogfight." Unfortunately, the defense came out and pitched out a shutout. But there's not many teams that will be able to shut down that Vanderbilt offense. And for the defense, I feel like it's pretty underrated. I know they got one of the best rush defenses in the country. So Clark Lee, he's a great coach. I know Missouri is going to be a test, but who would have ever thought that Vandy would actually have somewhat of a home atmosphere and even have game day in Nashville? Since James Franklin left, like I don't think anybody would have envisioned that. And for Alabama to say that they have beaten both of those teams, I just feel like that's a huge testament to how Alabama has played the past 4 weeks and how they've continued to improve over the course of the season. But I definitely think that's going to be a good one. I don't really know which way it's going to go. I guess I would probably give Vanderbilt the edge because they're at home and it's proven to be pretty difficult to play in Nashville nowadays. So that's just my take on that one, though.
oh yeah, it's gonna be a fun one seeing Missouri Vandy. But well, Harry kid, you and I will probably be watching Alabama, South Carolina, so we'll
Oh
be
yeah,
doing.
yeah. I'm going to be in Columbia this weekend, so but I'll be checking. Hopefully, they got a little scoreboard. You know how Alabama has the scoreboards on the side. They got the scores that scroll across. I'm hoping that they have that because I'll definitely be keeping in. I hope I'm looking at it because that means that Alabama's playing well. If I'm looking at it, Alabama's playing well. if I'm not looking at it, that means that Alabama's struggling, and I don't really want to pay attention to what anybody else is doing. So um,
Oh
I'm
no.
hopeful that Alabama goes into Columbia and takes care of business this weekend.
Oh, agreed. I mean, like we should take care of business, because it's like all we just have to make sure is put a stop to Lenore Sellers, and we're good to go. Put a stop to South Carolina's running back, we're good. I mean, South Carolina hasn't been good this season, but they could have their backs against the corner and try to upset us as they have nothing to lose, really.
Right. And a lot of people are coming for a name that Alabama fans are all too familiar with. I know you've seen it. Mike Shula is like getting thrown around into the fire. Like there's no escaping for Mike Shula, and
I love
like
it.
all the pressure is on his shoulders. Alabama fans, they're not, the biggest fans of Mike Shula with how he coached at Alabama, but it's he's going to be coming out throwing a lot of different looks at Alabama. Last year, I know that team was a little bit better than this year's team. Obviously, you're seeing that now. But like you said, you still got Lenore Sellers. You still got to account for him. They still got a running back in Rasul Faison, who's pretty good. Hadn't really had that breakout game yet. He showed that what his potential was at Utah State. Obviously, got the waiver and hasn't played like everybody thought he would. The offense just hasn't played very well. The defense has struggled tremendously too. So the way that I kind of look at South Carolina, if I'm Alabama, is I would literally view it as this, Jackson. I would literally say we're going to. I would basically say that South Carolina is like going to Nashville last year. They lost to Georgia State. You go in, they got a good quarterback. Nobody else around him is just like really talked about, and that's how South Carolina is. It's sellers, sellers, sellers. That's all you hear about, and he hasn't played well, and everybody else around him is kind of an afterthought. So if I'm DeBoer, I'm saying, hey guys, look, this is a more hostile atmosphere. It's pretty much just like Vandy. We got to go in here and take care of business because they should have beaten us last year. Had he not thrown that interception, Alabama probably would have had no shot at the playoffs. There would have been 4 losses. So I hope that Alabama doesn't take this game for granted. I think they're mature enough not to. I think that Kalen DeBoer's emotion and intensity, I think that it's going to get this team fired up, riled up, ready to go. I do like the fact that it's not a 12 o'clock kickoff. Give the guys a little bit more time because I'm not the biggest fan of noon, 11 o'clock kickoffs, whichever time zone you're in. But I think that it's going to be a game that Alabama should be able to, get on top early, stay ahead. Hopefully, get some. I think this is a potential game, Jackson. This may be one of the few, the rest of the way outside of Eastern Illinois, that Alabama should be able to get, Austin Mack in the game or, Jalen Hale, Cole Adams, guys like that. Keon Keeley, just get some guys some reps, valuable reps. This should be a game. I'm not saying it will be, should be. But like I said, we'll see how things go in Columbia this weekend.
Well, we'll say before we get to our next topic, as we go under the sea with Trent Seaborn, first, we've got a little business. I'm trying to think of a good way, because like I gotta make some money on some Halloween candy, and I need top-notch college football predictions. Brody, you know a guy? You know a guy that can come up with some top-notch college football predictions?
I think I might.
I think I know that guy too.
Yeah,
And
I think I might.
he's a doppelganger of Mark
Yeah.
Rogers. Oh yeah. And he knows some pretty cool people.
College football is even more exciting when you've got some action on the line, and the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the voice of college football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread, and I've got a 40-plus year track record. 11-0 in the college football playoff for me last year against the money line, 8-3 against the spread. And I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill of Wager Talk is our ace in the hole, show stopper. 7 years with the voice of college football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick. 28-12 against the spread the last 3 years. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Corey Bratta, Matt Zemek, and Steve Dace. Check out those numbers. Become a YouTube or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click Join, and then select the betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2025 a winner now.
There you go. That's why you listen to Mark Rogers, Steve Dace from the Michigan Podcast, Matt Zimmett from USC Primetime Live, Trojans Wire, College Wire, Corey Bratta from the Hawkeye of the Storm. And if you want that top-notch under-the-radar pick of the week, you go to Steve Merrill from Wager Talk. All right here on Voice College Football Bets. All right, we go under the sea as we discover why Trent Seaborn committed to Alabama. We give a full breakdown, and Brody's the man to do it.
Man, Trent Seaborn's a guy that Alabama's been recruiting since Coach Saban was there. This is a guy that, grew up very close to the Tagovailoa family. Actually, was born and raised in Hawaii, essentially. Like I said, very close to the Tagovailoa family, decided to move to Alabama and play at Thompson, which was the same school that Tua's little brother, Taulia, played for. Since he's been at Thompson, he's won 3 state titles for the Warriors, coached by one of the best coaches in the state, if not the country, and Mark Freeman. Trent Seaborn's been a guy that Alabama's had their eye on for quite a while. I know that they've offered several other guys, but obviously they wanted Seaborn to be a part of this class. And, you've heard him talk and his videos and stuff like that. And as you can see that picture right there, I mean, the proof was in the pudding. Like, he wanted to come to Alabama back when Tua was playing. So, he's a guy, I think he sees what Ty Simpson's been able to do. He's pretty similar to Simpson. Has a great track record in high school. Simpson did too. His Simpson's dad's a football guy. The Seaborn family, they've been in football for years, really close to the Tagovailoa family. So, he has a background of being around, elite quarterbacks and whatnot, playing at the top level at Thompson. Been an Alabama fan for a long time. Been coming on campus since his 8th grade year when Coach Saban was there. Obviously, Coach DeBoer comes in. Took a little while. I think it was several months ago, Alabama actually extended him an official offer. I think they did some evaluating. This coaching staff didn't want to just jump in and extend offers just to be like, hey, we offered this kid. They actually wanted to take the time to get to know them, get to know their family, see what their coaches have to say, and actually evaluate and assess, their performance. And with Seaborn being right up the road, I'm sure that the coaching staff made several trips up there to Alabaster to watch him play. I know Alabama is also looking to take 2 quarterbacks in the 2027 class potentially. There with Elijah Haven, the 5-star. But nevertheless, it's good to get Trent Seaborn on board. I know that Alabama's quarterback room is going to have a lot of players, but I will say this: that's what you think on the surface. But the fact that he's not coming in, he's still a junior in high school. So he's a 2027 kid. So all next year it will be Jet Tamala, Ty Keelan, Austin Matt Kawa, whatever combination of people that is, and he'll be the next year. And with how college football is so unpredictable, you don't know who's going to be on campus and who's going to be going to the draft. You don't know who's transferring where. So I think getting Seaborn early is a good thing because he continues to form relationships, and has plenty of time to get to know the commits and the players on campus and the families, coaching staff, their families, stuff like that. So I think that was a huge part of it. I know that Seaborn's a very smart kid, very intellectual, and that's something that Alabama's coaching staff certainly likes. In the past they've gotten guys like, you look at Bryce Young, Tua Tagovailoa, Mac Jones, even Ty. So I know that Alabama really likes, kids that have a history of winning. Who wouldn't? And Seaborn's that guy. And Alabama, gave him the green light to go ahead and commit.
Oh man, like seeing that picture of Seaborn high fiving Tua, like that's so awesome. Oh man,
Oh
like
man,
what
it
year
definitely
was
is.
that? Like that look, it's like let's from 2018, 2019.
It had to be 2018 or 2019. But it was insane. I saw that picture. I was scrolling down his where his photos were, and I was going down. I was like, when did Alabama offer him? To see, because sometimes they'll post a picture of the university or a player or something, and he happened to have Alabama's logo in that picture. So I was like, man, that's awesome. Because I didn't remember seeing that when he initially posted his official offer, to his ex, but I was like, man, I got to post that. That's cool. I want everybody to see that, and he included that in the video, commitment video that he actually posted today, but. The fact that he was coming to Alabama games and he was little, man. That was like 7 years. He was little, and he's grown up since, and he's one of the top quarterbacks in the country, and there's a reason that he committed to Alabama. For good reason, and Thompson's kind of been, an area that Alabama's recruited in the past. I know they had Jeremiah Alexander, Amari Kite. They recruited Peter Woods out of that area, out of that school. Fagans that actually ended up going to Auburn, but Alabama is trying to. This coaching staff is trying to win the state again. And you look at this class, right? You look at the 27 class alone. Alabama has three of the top commits in the state. I mean, you look at Jatori Williams out of Central Phoenix City, Trent Seaborn out of Thompson, and Alabaster, and then you look at Jabarius Guerra out of Viger down there in Pritchard, Alabama. I mean, Alabama is working. This coaching staff is working not just this 26 class, but this 27 class, and to be able to get Seaborn, as a verbal commit this early on, despite him being an Alabama fan, because there are a lot of Alabama fans that get offered by Alabama but end up committing and signing elsewhere. So I think that's a huge get for Alabama, and I think that Seaborn getting a quarterback this early will also help, recruit in the future because Seaborn's going to be a guy that recruits gravitate towards. He's going to be a guy that receivers in the state. I know he plays with one, and Dedrick Kimbrough, who's a 28 receiver that Alabama offered, and several other guys in the state. That Alabama will show interest in, especially in that Birmingham area. Having Seaborn on board is very huge, and critical, I think, for especially for the 27 class in the future, of the Alabama football program for sure.
Oh man, and like scrolling through these X videos of Trent Seaborn, like where he's like thanking God for the opportunity to come to Alabama and just getting a look back at like his whole life, at how much he loves Alabama, like that's pretty awesome, man. Like I love it.
Yeah, like you're saying, you don't see a lot of kids, especially a 6-minute video. I was like, man, I gotta watch this. This is awesome. Just like you said, to just see so many memories and how much like he actually loved Alabama. And I'm sure people close to him, his family and close friends, they knew he wanted Alabama. But to be able to see that, there just aren't as many kids that are like that nowadays. Even in the state of Alabama, there's a lot of kids that look at NIL as the biggest factor, and Seaborn's a guy that, Alabama didn't really start like I know they were recruiting him, but they didn't really start like you know pushing for a commitment until like the season started this year. After they saw him a few games, got him on campus. This was his second time on campus this year. I think the coaching staff was like, all right, we got to get this kid. He's an in-state kid. He loves Alabama. He's elite. He's won 3 state championships, and he's just a junior in high school. So I think that was one of those situations that Alabama couldn't pass up on. And the fact that he and his family are so close to the Tagovailoas and, love Alabama and admire the university so much. I think that was just the icing on the cake.
Yep, that's a huge win right there. And we'll definitely make sure to bring him on Alabama The Voice College Football for an interview for sure. And it'd be fun to like talk about the history of Alabama football, Trent Seaborn. Like, I'm willing to bet he would love to hear about the 48 Iron Bowl when the Iron Bowl started back up after 40 years of not playing.
Yeah.
Ooh. I bet that'd be fun.
Yeah,
There we
he's
go.
yeah.
Oh man. Well, we got some updates, some recruiting updates. That include Elijah Haven, Keyshawn Bowman, and Jaden Bryant. You talked a little bit about Elijah Haven a little while ago,
Yeah.
and you said that Alabama's looking to get him despite having Bowman. They're kind of like, oh, no, we're stocking up on quarterback. We're making sure we've got things rolling.
Yep. Like I mentioned it, and you said it. You said it best. Alabama's trying to stock up on quarterbacks because you never know nowadays. I know that he's a junior, but Alabama really likes him. I know that Haven had interest in Alabama. Similar to Seaborn, they really started pushing for him, this fall. I don't think during the summer that Haven was a guy that Alabama likely saw coming, and committing, and being a part of the 27 class. But obviously things have changed. He's a guy that is from Louisiana. I read something saying, Jackson, that he's 6 minutes or 6 miles or something away from LSU's campus, which I thought was crazy. I know that he grew up, liking and going to LSU games, obviously, in Baton Rouge, but Alabama's able to get him on campus. I know he's coming back for the LSU game, so that's only an even better sign, of us of Alabama potentially getting his commitment. He was really high on Florida and LSU, but obviously Billy Napier being fired at Florida, didn't help the Gators' chances there. The unknown of the coaching situation, as well as LSU. Garrett Nussmeier hasn't looked, how many people thought he would end up looking. And I think that's something that kind of makes him and his dad, kind of skeptical on that front. Quarterbacks aren't being developed, like a lot of people thought they would at LSU, and this is a kid that's got a great arm. He won a state championship last year at Dunham School. But Alabama's pushing for him. Got him on campus for the Tennessee game, getting him back on campus for the LSU game. Uh, you know, I was also informed that Alabama even let him, like, he knew, his family knew that Seaborn was going to commit. Like, that's coaching staff let him know, and he got back home. Did interviews with people and stuff, and the interest is there. Obviously, when people put in crystal balls and RPMs and stuff like that, they're not just throwing it out there. Like, they have some intel, they have some information that inclines them to think that this is going to happen pretty soon. It isn't, that's not stuff that you sit and just, okay, 4 months later, Haven commits. Like, that's stuff that you see or envision, happening pretty soon. So I think that this could happen pretty soon. I think that Haven set a commitment date or has one in mind. I'm not sure on that. I'll have to double check. But
Yeah, he
I
wants
know,
to do it on New Year's Day, I think,
yeah,
or
New Year's.
2026. Oh,
Okay, okay.
oh my
Well,
god. Oh
it's
man.
it's it might be a few months, but I would also be willing to bet, that he knows, like, he's going to know relatively soon where he's going. Like you said, it's just one of those things where kids wait, because that's happened in the past a lot. And I mean, you just see right there, you see what he's able to do. You got him and Seaborn in the same class. I think Alabama can hold on to him. I know that sounds crazy in the world of NIL and the quarterback situation being the way that it is, but let's say, for instance, Jackson, that Ty, let's say for instance he were to come back, because I've heard some ramblings that, he might consider coming back. But obviously he's regarded as one of the top quarterback prospects. Um, you know, if he does come back, that's a year where, you know, likely, in all likelihood, Russell or Mack will transfer, and then you have Tamala and Kawa. And that next year, after Ty graduates, it would likely be a competition between Haven, Tamala, and Seaborn. And, could you imagine a three-way quarterback competition between Tamala, who is like has a strong arm, one of the most prolific passers in the 26 class. Alabama's coaching staff loves, and then you got two other guys that they love in Seaborn and Haven. If they were able to get those three on campus, and those three were to battle it out for the starting quarterback position, I think Alabama would be set for years. I think these are guys that are elite. I think they are at an elite level. And this coaching staff's just done a tremendous job. But I like where Alabama sits for Haven for sure.
Oh, so do I. Like, I think it's going to be awesome seeing our quarterback room from 2025 and beyond. Like, because it was like 2024, that was a one-off year. Like the rest of the 2020s decades, I'm excited about. Like, I'm excited about where they're heading, for us. And also, I believe Alabama made an offer, and I read this correctly on your website from Crimson Coverage, that they offered to Keyshawn Bowman.
Yep.
I,
Uh,
he's from Brentwood, correct?
Brentwood Academy, that's correct.
Oh, nice.
That was a school that I believe George McIntyre played at, the current quarterback at Tennessee. I know that Brentwood Academy is one of those powerhouse schools up there in Nashville, Tennessee. I know they got several schools up in that area, but Keyshawn Bowman is a kid that committed to Oregon pretty early on. He has a long list of suitors. He has he has over 40 offers, looking at it right now. And Alabama's obviously, had success, recruiting receivers in this class. You look at Sedarian Morgan, Owen Cabell, who's from that Nashville area as well. And then obviously Brian Williams Jr. But I think that Alabama's really going to go full head of steam in that class, because, you know, you're likely going to lose Ryan Williams his junior year. Jalen Hale, Cole Adams, guys like that would be gone. Isaiah Horton, if he decided to return, he would be gone. So looking for those blue chip guys, and you got a guy like Keyshawn Bowman who's 6'1", 174. He's a playmaker, out there on the perimeter, plays against big schools, and Alabama obviously extended him an offer. Obviously they're going to keep in touch very closely with him with how many suitors he has, but I'll be probably looking to get an interview with him, pretty soon, over there on Crimson Coverage. I know a lot of recruits are busy this time of year with their seasons and playoff coming up, so be looking for that. But I know that Alabama really loves Bowman, and we'll see where things go from him. But obviously his recruiting process is something that would seem like it's just starting with Alabama, but I know that Alabama has had their eyes on him. I know they've been up in that Nashville area to watch Cabell, and I'm sure, if I'm not mistaken, Brentwood and the school that Cabell plays for, Christ Presbyterian Academy, I'm pretty sure that they play each other, or they're in the same area. So I know that Jamarcus Shepard and the coaching staffs kept a close eye on Bowman. I can't hear you. Is it my computer? Are you on mute, Jackson? I can't hear nothing.
Oh, I'm on mute. My bad.
Okay. Yeah, I thought it was me, man.
Yeah, I was like, if you do meet him, or well, when you do meet him, you'll have to ask him about how is he able to keep his toes in balance on display, because that's got me impressed.
He's a stud, man. He's also a guy. I didn't point this out. He runs track too, and he ran an 11.59 in the 100 meter. So he can absolutely fly. And he reopened his recruitment. Alabama. There's been several schools that have offered him recently. He can Alabama or two of those. Obviously Tennessee's on that list of potential suitors, but
yeah, he's not going.
Jamarcus Shepard. Well, who knows, man? You would think that most kids would pick Alabama, especially with Jamarcus Shepard, and we saw what Alabama's receivers were able to do the other day. But hey, I mean, everyone entitled to their own opinion, man. But
That's right.
I definitely think that Jamarcus Shepard and the Alabama coaching staff, they'll definitely try to get him on campus and multiple times and see where things go.
Oh, here we go. And we've got Mr. Jaden Bryant for the recruiting update. And I believe he was offered as well.
Yep, Jaden Bright's a kid that's actually from the state of South Carolina, from Irmo High School, which is in Columbia. So he's not far from South Carolina's campus. A guy that's really risen up or really seen a rise in his recruiting ranking. A guy that I talked to several months ago during the summer, I believe it was, and he had not, had an offer from Alabama. He said that he hadn't really talked to Alabama's coaching staff very much during the summer, but Alabama seen something that they really like. This guy is, he's 6'4",
Oh,
50 plus pounds. And he obviously you can see there he's running sideline to sideline, and for an edge rusher, that's definitely something that stands out. Can play inside or outside. But Alabama's a guy that he's a guy that Alabama really likes. Brought him on campus, and I saw a picture of him with several of the 26 class Alabama commits throwing up Lank and whatnot. But he's a guy that's from South Carolina. South Carolina will, they'll put a full court press on him. But, I know that Alabama likes guys that can play multiple positions across the defensive line. That's something that Kane Womack looks for when he's recruiting these defensive linemen. And Jaden Bryant's a guy that fits that mold. So, it'll be interesting to see how things unfold there. But, as a sophomore in high school, Jackson, as a sophomore in high school, I'm reading this. A defensive lineman, Jaden Bryant had 92 tackles, 26 tackles for loss, 18 and a half sacks, four forced fumbles as a sophomore in high school. So, obviously there's a reason that Alabama's pursuing him, and we'll see if Alabama can get him on campus, here in the fall again. But definitely expect his name to be brought up a lot, in the spring for sure. A guy that Alabama really likes in that 2027 class.
oh, no doubt. Like, cause I'm getting inside just looking at him, and he's just putting a scare and keeps. Oh, he put a scare in that room, and he's like, you're in my house now. I'm the
Yep.
captain now. I'm
Yeah.
the captain now.
And that's the thing too, is he's 245, 255, somewhere in that range, and he's moving and making plays like he is. I mean, you got a good player when you see a defensive lineman that can play inside at that size, and make plays like he is, as physical as he is, and that's something that Alabama has caught on to, and they're picking up steam in his recruitment, I believe, for sure.
Oh man, like it's looking like, oh man, I'd hate to get on
Clemson
his bad side.
Clemson offered him yesterday. I do know that, and obviously South Carolina. But both those programs are struggling. Not sure what the coaching staff, especially the assistants, will look like. Defensive line coaches or defensive coaching staff, what that'll look like. But I know that Alabama's got a lot of good players up front. But Freddie Roach and Kane Womack are always looking to add. And I know this guy's a 2027 guy, but he flashes athleticism, physicality, can run sideline to sideline, and that's rare for a defensive lineman, a guy that has his kind of motor. So it'll be interesting to see, how his recruitment continues to go in the months ahead.
No doubt about that. And it's like last before we get to this final topic to end the show, I'm just like, if we can get him, that'd be a huge win. Because like, if he wants to win, come to Bama, because you're not gonna be able to win at Clemson anymore. This isn't 2016, 18. I mean, that Dabo Sweeney era now is basically the Bobby Bowden era from 2001 to 2009. because it wasn't like
Yeah.
when Florida State was dominating the AC, everybody was scared. It was in the years where Florida State won the AC from 2001, 2009, it wasn't really that impressive. I feel like it's the same way with Clemson from 2021 to now. I mean, 2022,
Yeah.
nobody was impressed. 2024, I mean, Sean Madonna threw out his puberty voice over game-winning field goal against SMU in the AC title game, but they couldn't win a
Exactly.
playoff game.
Yeah, exactly. They lost to Texas, and like you said, that ACC title was I mean, it was kind of a fluke in my opinion. Obviously Clemson's not the same Clemson that they used to be ever since, Brent Venables left. It's not been their defense just hasn't been the same. So, it'll be interesting to see how things unfold in Clemson because fans aren't happy, and I'm sure there's some people inside the building, especially the people that ultimately make the decisions that aren't happy with Dabo Swinney. They haven't been for quite a while. So, you lose a game, this past weekend, and it's just, you lose to SMU, you lose to Syracuse, and it's getting ugly in Clemson. So it'll be interesting to see how things go there, especially the fact that you're also struggling in the ACC, which is not a power conference, as
Yeah.
opposed to the Big Ten or the SEC. So
I mean, like Syracuse blasted you to Kingdom Come, but that was the
yeah,
thing. In your own backyard. That's a bad look right there.
yeah, Syracuse and SMU at home. Yeah, that, like you said, 2020 and before that, Clemson would have never lost them kind of games. They would blow them out. But nowadays it's just not the same Clemson.
Oh, no doubt about that. And lastly, but not leastly, Billy Napier has been fired as of Sunday, on Black Sunday. I mean, I've got a list of 2026 commits of Florida that had Alabama on their choice list. Hayes Kent, KJ Ford. We've done a commitment watch party live streams here on Alabama at the Voice of College Football, along with Florida at the Voice of College Football, amongst a few other channels on these two guys. But there's also Desmond Green, Janarvre Carr, Caden Hall, Jaraylin McCoy, Carson Baker, and Malik Morris. Looking at these guys on the 2026 commit list for Florida, which one of them is the most likely to flip to Bama after the firing of Billy Napier?
It's interesting. Several of those guys, like you said, you pointed out that had Alabama on their list, and it seemed like Alabama was picking up steam on a guy like Hezzy Kent over the summer, and he just decided to take visits everywhere but Alabama. He had initially scheduled to visit Alabama, but I believe that he's a guy that wants to play tight end. And I know that Alabama's got Max Sutter and just offered another guy that's committed to Colorado. So I I don't think that Alabama recruits Hezzy Kent. He's a guy that's almost 300 pounds, Jackson. He is a monster. He is 6'7", 300 pounds. So I think Alabama would take him as a defensive lineman, but I'm not sure that he's willing to do that. Um, but the other guy that I would say that Alabama would actually pursue, if he's willing to come and willing to basically reopen his recruitment, is definitely KJ Ford. A guy that Alabama fans are very familiar with. Seemed like he was going to Alabama, and then the day before his commitment date, and then the next day everybody's like he's going to Florida. The buzz changed. Seems like Florida threw him the bag there, but I won't get into particulars on that one. But I think that he's a guy that Alabama would definitely take. They would definitely give him the green light. I think that his recruitment is very NIL based. Obviously, I saw that he's visiting USC and expect some schools in Texas and other schools around the SEC. I know Ohio State was interested, but they got several edge
Oh,
rushers there.
USC, they have no respect for rivalries. They want to avoid Notre Dame, USC, but not here at Bama. We love our rivalries. We love our Iron Bowl. We love our third Saturday in October.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
man. Oh
So
yeah. Oh
that's
yeah.
a pit. That's a sales pitch right there.
But I will say this, Jackson. What's interesting to me is a lot of these Florida commits. They're not, jumping off. They're not jumping off the boat yet. Like they're still committed.
Yeah.
And with Penn State, James Franklin, I mean, there were kids within minutes, reopening their recruitment, decommitting. Like it was just like several days worth. And Florida kids, you don't really, I haven't really seen a lot of that. So it's very interesting. Obviously, Florida has to make a huge hire. There's been several names floating around, but I think that some of these guys actually committed to the coaching staff aside from Billy Napier, their relationships with some of these guys. But, you know, a logical or reasonable person would think that those coaches aren't going to be there. So, with Napier leaving. So I'm not sure. I would probably say KJ Ford. That's a great question. I'm glad you asked. And I think that Hezzy Kent might be a guy that they kick the tires on if he were to reopen his recruitment. But I know that there will be a lot of suitors. I know Texas will be in on him, Miami, Florida State. Florida State is is Florida State is, they might not even be able to keep Mike Norvell, or might get rid of him and fire him. So it'll be interesting to see if he reopens his recruitment, which I expect. Another guy that I really like is Jaraylon McCoy. He's a guy that's like 6'7", 250 plus pounds. Out of that Tupelo area, and Alabama has offered several kids from Tupelo, in the 27 and 28 class, and they got a good program over there. And he's a guy that Alabama could, pursue. I know that they have Jamarian Matthews, Kamarian Johnson, J.J. Finch, Corey Howard now. So it's, if you're a defensive lineman, and you want to entertain, committing to Alabama, and Alabama's an option, you better jump on board, is all I got to say, because I know Alabama likes a lot of defensive linemen. There's already a lot of talent on the roster, and they got 4 or 5 in this class. So, it'll be interesting, but I would definitely say KJ Ford, is a guy that they would, out of that list that you named, those guys, I would definitely say KJ Ford's the one to keep an eye on.
Oh man, like, cause yeah, I was thinking about like, even though 247 says it's 100% that they're staying committed to Florida, I'm like, let's see, let's see. Nah, Brody knows.
Yeah. No, it's something that a lot of people just don't know nowadays, especially with him being fired Sunday. A lot of people don't know because a lot of these recruits, they don't talk as much during the season. So a lot of them are focused on their season, and once their season ends, the wheels start spinning a little bit more. You see their recruitment pick up once their season ends. They're taking visits before early signing day. So, I think that some of these guys will decommit and probably start taking a lot of visits. I'm not sure if Alabama would recruit any of them, but if there were to be any, I would say those three would be the ones to keep an eye on. I think that Alabama, they liked all of those players, when their recruitment was open. So it'll be interesting to see if Alabama at least, brings them in for a visit.
Oh, for sure. I'm just getting inside thinking about who we can get. It'll be funny to get a little revenge on Florida State. Like, I mean, it's like, why wait till next year where we can get revenge against them in the recruiting trail? Because,
Yep.
like, oh man, because they're like, I mean, would you really want to play for the Gus Bus? I know I don't.
Yeah, Gus Bus might not be chugging along down there in Tallahassee much longer with the way things are going. So.
Oh no. I mean, like, you lose your fourth straight conference game, and it's against Stanford on ACC After Dark, 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning Eastern time. Like that last play. Oh my god, that was nuts.
Dude, and the thing about it is Florida State's offense has been atrocious ever since they played us. Like, it has been like an embarrassment. Like, it was like Florida State Super Bowl was Alabama because of when we got put in the playoffs over them. They were undefeated, and they put Alabama in because we beat Georgia and all that riffraff, and then they got smoke pulled by Georgia, and they're like, we're at home, week 1. We got our whole team's transfers, so they can't prepare for us because they don't have the film. They don't know what we're going to do, what we're going to throw at them. They always struggle with Gus Malzahn. So we'll just treat this one like the Super Bowl, and then after that, whatever happens, happens. But
Yeah.
no, in all seriousness, that team has struggled tremendously, and per reports and everything I'm reading, I don't think Mike Norvell is going to be around much longer. He may finish
No,
out the season,
especially
but I don't see it being beyond that.
no,
I don't.
I mean, especially when the players are joking every time Norvell talks to the press, like they're joking to
Exactly.
one another. It's like
Yeah,
that
I read that, man. It was what was the word that he said? It was some word.
process.
Yep. So, yeah, process. And they when players are joking about that, man, it's not a good look. It's not.
No, I mean, you shouldn't be cutting up and laughing your butt off when you're losing 4 straight conference games, especially when your last conference win was against Cal on September 21st, 2024 on ESPN2, where you won 14-9. Like,
Yeah.
no.
That I don't know, man. I kind of view Mike Norvell and Florida State situation is similar to Auburn
Ugh.
because you got coaches, offensive minded guys, and you're like, okay, well they're gonna, we're at least gonna be able to score points. The defense is the side that you kind of wonder about, but it's been the exact opposite for both schools. It's been like the offense has done nothing to help, and then the defense is the one that's playing, relatively well. So
Good
it's
God.
it's it's an interesting situation down there in Tallahassee, man.
Well, I'm glad we're not Mike Norvell, and you know,
Exactly.
pretty soon I think some of those recruits they're gonna come right over to Bama because we think about all our games and they only think about one.
Hey, makes sense to me, man. I don't know.
There we go. Well, what have you got going on in your world this week, good buddy?
Um, I'm going to be traveling, obviously up to Columbia this weekend for that game against South Carolina, but definitely stay, in tune with Crimson coverage. All of my content I post over there, whether it be news from press conferences, whether it be Alabama and the NFL or anything recruiting wise. I'll get it out there and I try to stay up to date. With stuff on social media, like there was up there, former players posting stuff and analysts and whatnot. So, yeah, just got a lot of posts, probably coming the rest of the week. Um, you know, and yeah, that's pretty much it, man. I appreciate you letting me come on as always,
Always.
and
Thank you,
look forward
man.
to this weekend and roll tide, man.
Oh, roll tide. I mean, who knows? I think we'll see on a little more like all right here on Alabama Voice College Football, and it's always going to be a party, like especially when Brody comes on.
Yeah,
And
man.
go ahead.
Yeah, man, we always have a good time. I appreciate coming on here and the fashion enthusiasm you got for the University of Alabama, and I just love talking with you, man, and look forward to doing it again, like you said.
Oh yeah, and of course you can check me out on Jackson Johnson 979, where I've got numerous episodes of the Jacksonian coming up. Where I've got 84, 85, 86 coming up. Who they are? That's why you like, comment, subscribe to Jackson Johnson 97, where I have numerous episodes of the Jacksonian, and of course later tonight I'll be filming Pits and Analysis with Sports Talk with Austin at 9:15 p.m. Central Time, or is it 10 p.m.? Well, we'll figure it out. You'll know later on tonight for sure. And for more updates of what I've got going on, Alabama with the Voice of College Football, the Jacksonian, my appearances on Locked On West Virginia with Mountaineer Paul on Jackson's World of College Football, and the once twice week calls on the Paul Feinbaum Show. However long Feinbaum is going to be on the show until I guess he decides to run for a certain office or something. Check me
Yeah,
out on Jacksonville CFB on @/Twitter and on Instagram and Threads at Jackson Johnson 543908. And also check out the YouTube membership tiers of Alabama at the Voice College Football, where we've got top-notch tiers like the $2.99 a month tier, for where you become a Crimson Faithful member for $2.99 a month. You can become a Crimson Faithful member where you'll have loyalty badges next to your name in the comment section and in the live chat, and you get custom emojis to use in the comments and live chat, and you get member shoutouts like our good buddy Godfather of the SEC, who's always coming in supporting the show every week, and we always make sure to support right back as he make sure to give him a shout out because he is amazing all right here. And you got the Saban Disciple membership tier for $4.99 a month, where you'll have priority replies to comments and access to a monthly hangout from yours truly, Jackson Johnson and Jeffrey Only Talk Sports. And for $9.99 a month, you can become a Bear Bryant legend, where you can connect on social media with each of us and give out content requests of any kind, and neither rain nor sleet nor snow nor this weird Alabama weather will push stop us from fulfilling your content request all right here. And up next, I will be joining Lucas Hill on South Carolina Live to give a preview of Alabama, South Carolina. And let me tell you, that's going to be a fun, wild ride. And I'm going ahead and putting in the link. Let's go. Come on. Here we go. Don't mess with me, computer. There you go. Here you go. There's a link. You can find me on the 27th edition of South Carolina Live with Lucas Hill, who you saw last night on last night's edition of Crimson Tide Live. And for more updates, and if you want to check us out on audio, check us out on Spotify, Amazon, Apple Podcast, and iHeartRadio. With that being said, we wish you all a happy Tuesday night. And like, comment, subscribe, click on the notification bell so you never miss no video whatsoever. And we'll see you soon. And roll Tide!